Joshua with Think Liberty, and today we're joined by James Weeks. James is the chair of the Libertarian Party of Livingston County and has ran for sheriff, U.S. Congress, and state representative for Michigan. James is also one of the more polarizing figures in the movement for his wild antics and audacious messaging. How are you doing today, James?
Oh, relatively okay.
Good, good. It's better than bad, right?
Yeah.
We like to start off our interviews with a little bit of asking you about your journey to the liberty movement and how did you end up where you are today?
Oh, well, if you really want to go back, we can go back. When I was in, what was that? I think it was maybe freshman year of high school, maybe 8th grade. I can't remember exactly which grade it was in. I remember the teacher, but don't remember what grade it was. But we had a class project in a government class we were doing to design our ideal government. And I said, well, I don't want any government. And the teacher said, well, you're an anarchist. You can't do anarchy. You got to do something. I said, no, I don't. And so that was what first time I heard the word anarchist, and kind of ran with it from there.
I remember putting anarchy signs on everything when I was a little kid. So
I stuck with it. I did.
I like it.
And then, that's pretty much the journey, It was just that.
Just continue.
Kid not wanting to do his homework. Anarchist, boom.
Nice. So what are some of your greatest political influences or anarchist influences and why?
Oh, well, Emma Goldman was probably the first anarchist that I ever read anything of. So Emma Goldman's a huge one. Probably there's so many. We could go through a big list. Lysander Spooner's awesome. Benjamin Tucker. You have Mikhail Bakunin, Peter Kropotkin, just Max Stirner, Bob Black. There's just, you could just go on and on and on. I could, all the different anarchists that I've read that I really admire and have drawn from to influence my brand of anarchism, which I guess is actually kind of unique in its way. But Murray Rothbard's good. Some of his early stuff's good. His late stuff's crap. Don't read any of his late stuff. I don't know. That should just fuck off.
Paleo.
He went really. It's like anarchist, way fucking statist. All right. Oh, that happened.
It did. And you mentioned a lot of anarchist philosophers there, and philosophy is kind of my thing. I enjoy anarchist philosophy as well, including early Rothbard. Some of those that you mentioned are obviously anarcho-communist.
Anarcho-communist, anarcho-collectivists, yeah.
Right, but also some of them are individualists, such as Jeffrey Tucker and stuff like that.
Jeffrey Tucker and Lysander Spooner were both socialists, though.
Right.
You got to remember that the individualist anarchists were still socialists. It wasn't up until Murray Rothbard came along where any anarchist ever said they were a capitalist.
Right.
That wasn't a thing.
What are some of your problems with capitalism, especially anarcho-capitalism? What do you see as problems?
Well, anarcho-capitalism is a misnomer, I guess we could say it. It's not possible. Capitalism, as defined, how it was originally defined, not this new speak way of defining it. It does not mean free markets. It means, state rule by and for those who own large amounts of capital, as Samuel Edward Konkin III so eloquently put in one of his discussions of his Yahoo discussion group. That's what it has always meant since the coining of the term, since Thomas Hodgkins coined it back in the 1800s as a pejorative for those who were benefiting from statism in the mercantilist system. It had never meant anything free market, never meant anything voluntary trade or anything like that, like people try and define it as today. And that's the problem with anarcho-capitalism, is that they're calling it something that it's a oxymoron. You can't put those two words together historically without redefining one or both of those terms. And that's why I think it's not a problem with the ideology itself. I'm not saying there's something wrong with what people are saying. I'm saying it's inappropriately named. And most that call themselves anarcho-capitalists, aside from the Hoppians or whatever, would be more adequately represented by calling themselves individualist anarchists, like Benjamin Tucker or Lysander Spooner. That would be much better. As you know, you can't. It's like anarcho-statism or anarcho-fascism. Just no.
So, funny thing about that, we actually know the guy who started the anarcho-fascism webpage or Facebook page, and it was totally a joke. And it caught on so big. And I believe that there's people who actually follow that now.
Yeah. There's people who are calling themselves fascists now. It's ridiculous, but as ridiculous as we all see it, that's how I see. From going from the historical definition of capitalism, that's what it's just as silly to me.
Right. So obviously, you're what some may call post-left leaning libertarian, and many within the movement say that this faction isn't actual libertarians. Where do you think the left?
Most people don't even know what post-left is.
Right. Well, and I added, to be fair, I added the post there because of your explanation of it. Where do you think that the left fits into the libertarian movement, and more specifically, those who don't view property norms as being aligned with libertarian principles?
Well, it's not necessarily property norms that is the issue. There's so many different theories of property. And I do personally reject the neo-Lockean non-proviso theory of property. I think that is one of the silliest theories of property there is, and I don't mean to insult anyone out there, but I mean it's really you got to examine it. Just examine it. Take a step back and really examine the implications of what the neo-Lockean non-proviso theory of property would mean. With the theory that if you whittle a whistle, right, now it's your property. You've mixed your labor with it, right? You set it on the sidewalk. You walk away for 20 years, and you come back and expect that whistle's still your whistle. No, that's not how property works in the real world. That's just, fantasy that because you've mixed your labor with it, it's yours indefinitely. It's yours in perpetuity. That's not how things work. Property rights aren't sticky. They're only for as long as you can possibly defend it. So as long as you defend that claim to the whistle, then it's your whistle. But if you abandon it and you walk away, it's no longer your whistle. Well, I see some comments on here. Exactly. That's not how the real world works. That's how neo-Lockean non-proviso theory of property theorizes things work, but it's not how the real world works.
Are there comments on here?
Yeah, I just saw some comments pop up here.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my beef with this, and then the people who apparently subscribe to this labor theory of property, they ignore Lockean's proviso, which says that the labor theory of property is only good as long as there is a equal portion of property out there that other people can access without issue. So in a world where everything is owned already, where everyone has deed to everything, Locke even said that the labor theory of property should be gone then. That's why he put that Lockean proviso in there, the Lockean proviso in the labor theory of property. And, that's ignored by many of today's ANCAPs who subscribe to this neo-Lockean non-proviso theory of property.
Right. So you've also been known to support Antifa in many ways, including things like the anti-Milo protests that caused a lot of violence. I've heard you say that this wasn't a violation of the NAP. Do you subscribe to the non-aggression principle, or?
Yeah.
You do, right? So can you make an ethically consistent argument for
Antifa? There was you mentioned before the show, and when I was with the Dinkertarians podcast and had a discussion on there with, was it Kevin, and there the Milo incident in particular, Milo, it was confirmed, his Breitbart and all that had published what he was planning on doing at this event. And he was planning on releasing the names of all the illegal immigrants at the school. He had, apparently had allegedly had doxed them and was planning on releasing all this to ICE and doing this massive roundup thing as some kind of publicity stunt for him. And that violates the NAP. So, that threat needed to be shut down. There was people that needed to be saved from the government. He was about to snitch, and snitching violates the NAP. And so violence used against someone who is violating the NAP is perfectly in line with the NAP. Just like if someone pulls a gun on you and says, I'm going to shoot you, or, you'd be perfectly fine using violence to stop them from shooting you. Just like people are perfectly in line with using violence to shut down threats of violence,
Right.
The threat of violence is a violation of the non-aggression principle.
How about some of the, we'll say the mainstream media videos that we see of Antifa doing things like, breaking windows and set cars on fire and stuff like that. So I understand that supporting them against like something like Milo, where he, was getting ready to dox someone to the federal government. Do you find these other methods of political violence useful as well?
Well, I can't read the whole comment. This is with that logic, though. Violence against police officers. ... I don't know why the whole comments aren't showing up.
I don't
know.
Usually the comments don't even show up.
Yeah, it's distracting me here.
No, pay no attention to the comments whatsoever. I'll ask all the questions. I promise.
Let's see. Burning down. Okay, this is the big thing that I think that a lot of people, when it comes to people complaining about, they threw a brick through Starbucks window or whatever, it's hypocritical for people to go on about how terrible this is while simultaneously supporting the American Revolutionary War. Because what was the things that the Sons of Liberty did during the American Revolutionary War? What actually was the American Revolutionary War? It was a series of riots that kicked it off. All right, like we all learn about the Boston Tea Party, and that was one of the tamest riots there were. When they went and they dumped a bunch of tea in the harbor, looted a bunch of private property and stuff. What did, the Sons of Liberty do when they found loyalists in their midst? They tarred and feathered them. They burnt down their houses and looted their businesses. And this was what the American Revolutionary War was a series of riots, looting, tar and feathering of loyalists, kicking them down the street, all that kind of stuff. It was very violent, very brutal. And so you have people that support the American Revolutionary War and then go cry in a corner because a brick got thrown through a Starbucks window. I just find that hypocritical.
Right. Do you think that ties into the kind of like Lockean private property norms, and that's why the people
well, that's what I'm saying. It's hypocritical to say that it's wrong for someone to loot a CVS when it's perfectly fine for them to loot, the East India Company.
Right.
And people give the argument, and here's the big parallel I want to make between that is that a lot of the people that through the tea in the harbor that the East India Company were having, they were tea smugglers themselves. They were selling tea on the black market. They were eliminating, their competition to drive up demand for their stuff. So how do we know the person who burnt down a CVS in Ferguson wasn't a street pharmacist eliminating his competition?
Right. We don't, obviously. It's probably not, but I mean, we don't. You're right.
We'll probably never know. But, I just think it's hypocritical for us to, put, the founding fathers on a pedestal while condemning very similar actions to the actions that they took.
Right. So obviously you're one of the loudest voices with the Audacious Caucus, and they've been making some noise recently. Can you tell me what the Audacious Caucus stands for and what its goals for the Libertarian Party are?
The Audacious Caucus, we stand for liberty, no holds barred liberty, rock and roll, dope, fucking in the streets. You know, we are a caucus that we say what we want. You know, it's not about respectability politics at all. It's the rejection of respectability politics. It's the rejection of, you know, the past 40 years of, you know, oh, go put on a suit and tie, pretend you're the Republicans or Democrats, and hopefully Republicans and Democrats will vote for us. That hasn't worked. It's the going out and, you know, showing that we're crazy, but we're the right kind of crazy. Right. You know, we got to be loud. We got to be proud about our messages. We can't water it down to appeal to people. We have to, you know, say libertarian stuff as loud as possible.
So, I mean, outside of your guys' mission statement, what is your goals for the Libertarian Party? Where would you like to see that headed?
Well, I'd like to see a world where the Libertarian Party is no longer necessary.
Right.
You know, I want that's what I want.
Obviously, yeah. Right.
I'd like to see, you know, the goal of the Audacious Caucus is through the Libertarian Party to bring about a free society in our lifetime.
So obviously it's been said that the Audacious Caucus would like to change the Libertarian Party planks.
I don't know who says that.
I've read it online a few times, and I've had a couple other people say it to me. I guess is that not true?
No, we have no stand on the planks.
Oh, okay.
We have no problem with the platform. What's wrong? I don't know. The platform is beautiful. I mean, the statement of principles is one of the greatest things ever written. The preamble, this stuff. A big thing is, you know, people that think that the platform is something more than or something different than what it is. You know, yeah, sure. We'd like to probably get rid of all references. I don't want to really speak for the entire caucus, but I'm sure most of us in the caucus would like to see all references to what governments do. You know, what governments do taken out of it. You know, that kind of stuff. That government should do this, that, and the other thing. But that doesn't need to be taken out to be an anarchist-friendly platform, because as the preamble says, none of this stuff, none of the planks in the platform are our end goal. Our end goal is nothing less than a world set free. These are ways that we can implement policy to help shift the world towards that free society. These are not our end goals. You know, so people think that the platform planks are the end goals. They're not. The end goal is a world set free. It's right there. You know, before you even start reading the planks, right. You know, it's right here. These aren't our goals. This is just ways for us to help bring about our goal of a world set free.
And as an anarchist myself, I agree with that. I think, and I've said this in several interviews, but one of our contributors says there's no point in arguing over the last 3 exits of a 3,000-mile journey. We got to get there first. So, she's pretty smart,
true.
You know.
It's true. And that's the thing, is that the platform does not state what our end goal is at all. It's not our end goal. The platform is not. And it states right in the platform that this is not our end goal. But there's a lot of people who misinterpret that and think that what I don't really like is that people misinterpret the platform to think that it's not an anarchist-friendly document, because there's references to things government should or should not do in there. And in a world without government, you know, why would you even need to say government should or should not do this? So people use the mention of governments as oh no, anarchists aren't welcome in the Libertarian Party, but that's not what the platform is. I mean, you just read the preamble, read the statement of principles.
Right. Well, and then the Dallas Accord as well. And I heard there's some proposal to do something new along the same lines too, coming up for the 2018 convention. I'd imagine. Have you heard anything about that?
I've heard rumors about someone wanting to do, you know, a new Dallas Accord, but I think it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree. So office quite a few times as an anarchist, and you ran on some pretty wild platforms. Can you tell us about some of the platforms you've campaigned on while running for office?
Oh, well, yeah, my last one for sheriff: free all prisoners, arrest all cops, burn down the jail. That was my rally cry for that. When I ran for state rep, it was actually don't vote. It was great. I stood outside the. Oh, this is a really funny story, actually. So in my county, it's split up in between, two state rep districts that take up the entirety of my county. And I ran for one of those, and then there's another gentleman who ran for the other one on the other side. Both of us were named James.
Perfect.
And so I spent, a couple $100 on some yard signs. I put up a really nice website. I make somewhat decent websites. I not to toot my own horn, my websites I make are all right. But I put up a somewhat decent website, spent a couple $100 on yard signs, and, did some poll campaigning. It was a very small campaign as far as libertarian campaigns go. Right. I went to a few events, but the gentleman on the other side of me, he got it in his head, oh, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm going to win, running as a libertarian. So what he did is he tried to distance himself from libertarianism. He wouldn't even put the word libertarian on his yard signs or his signs or his literature on his website. It didn't even say he was a libertarian. Basically he was running as an independent with the LP, kind of way he was conducting his campaign. Spent at least $5,000, had a full-time campaign manager, putting out all kinds of stuff, right? I got a better percentage of the vote than he did, with a website, yard signs, and going to the polls and telling people not to vote. So
pretty silly, man.
and the dude, he spent so much money, and you know what happened though? He left the party. He stopped showing up to stuff, and he was the former chairman of the Libertarian Party of Michigan. And he left the party altogether. We haven't seen him since. He showed up to like one county meeting after that, drunk as hell, blaming me for him losing. He really, that's what happens when a lot of people, you get it in your head and you think you're going to win and you're like, oh, I'm going to win. And then you get so excited and you're like, oh man, the poll numbers are coming in, I'm going to win. And then when that doesn't happen, you're like, oh, and then you go away. And I think that's a terrible thing. You should have fun in your campaigns. That's a big, big part of when I run for office, is to have fun. I want to go there. I want to debate the Republican. That's the big reason why I want to go in there, is I want to debate, because my county is Republican as all get out. Even the Democrats are Republicans in my county. It's crazy.
That is pretty wild.
It's wild. It's wild. There's some Democrats, and the Democrats that are actually worth anything are closer to libertarians than they are. Like, it's a really weird county.
Right. It's
just a really weird county. But the there's like, and you got to have fun though. I guess that's the whole point I'm trying to make. I got a little sidetracked there a little bit, but the point is just have fun while you're running for office. I mean, it's so much fun to run, to go debate, to go to debate the whoever's in office. In my case, I want to debate the Republicans, but someone else might live in a county where it's the Democrats that have a stranglehold on the county. Go debate the Democrats. I mean, it's fun. Office
controlled by the Democrats, so I will.
Yes, you got the opposite kind of county that I got.
The complete opposite, exactly.
In your county, are even the Republicans Democrats?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much entirely blue here, and I'm running for position 2 in District 49 in Washington, and it's she's a little softer target than position 1, so I figured the debates would be a little better for me. But it's pretty much the exact opposite of what you're going through. So
yeah, it's funny. It's funny how that varies.
Right. I heard your most recent campaign slogan is "Arm the Homeless," and what were you?
That's gonna be. I was contemplating running for county commissioner on the Arm the Homeless platform, but I'm actually thinking about switching that up, and I have started to announce that I'm going to be running for something else. I don't know if we want to make that news on your show or not, but
you're more than welcome to.
I'm looking into actually running for U.S. Senate.
Oh, nice.
There is no one in Michigan running for U.S. Senate from the Libertarian Party so far. No one's announced yet. And we have Kid Rock seeking the Republican nomination in Michigan for Senate.
I saw that.
So I think that James Weeks versus Kid Rock could be a great campaign.
That would be, I mean, it would definitely be entertaining if nothing else. I'd love to watch that. Absolutely. I heard it through the grapevine recently that someone tried very hard to physically remove you from the Libertarian Party of Michigan convention. What happened? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Oh, it was so funny. Well, as many people know, Michigan Party decided that their stick up their ass is bigger than most, people in the world. And, they suspended my membership for 2 years. It's not a teethless motion. They're like, oh, man, we suspended his membership, blah, 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 whatever. But I still show up.
Right.
I'm still here. And actually, according to their bylaws, I actually still have a right to vote and stuff like that because I am a member of the National Party living in Michigan, which entitles me to a delegate spot under our current practice.
Right.
But, you don't have to be a member of the Michigan Party in Michigan but here's the thing is that the chairman's son, the chairman unilaterally selected his sons to be like a sergeant at arms position, which is not how you select a sergeant at arms. And he had as soon as I tried walking in the door, right? Well, at first, I peeked my head in the door, and the chairman, Bill Gelano, former chairman, he's gone now. Now he's trying to run for governor. There's some funny story about that too, but he's trying to run for governor now, so he stopped being chairman of Michigan. And so I walk in the door, and then he tells me, "Oh, you can't be in here." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, Bill." So I go out and have a cigarette, right? And I come back in, and I walk through the door again. And now this time, his son's there, doing sergeant at arms at the doors. So he comes running over, "Hey, you can't be in here!" And he starts pushing me back and puts his hands on me and shit. And I just stood there. I mean, I'm a big guy, 300 pounds.
Right.
He wasn't moving me at all. And then as soon as he put his hands on me, though, a bunch of people, because I walked in right where all the people were sitting that were friends of mine. It was great. They were all right by the door, and they saw him put his hands on me, and 6 people jumped up and walked right over. It's like, all right, is this going to be something? Just immediately took his hands off me. And it was funny. And then he followed me around the convention floor for a while. And then he finally just gave up and realized I wasn't really there to cause trouble. I was just there,
Right.
And I'm just not going to leave.
Well,
and
I mean,
he ended up just leaving me alone.
These conventions are open to the public as well.
Yeah, they're open to and I'm a member of the press. I'm a co-host of Freedom Fiends as a member of the press.
Right,
so they were trying to deny a member of the press access to an open meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this something that you run into constantly with your kind of your views that are off the map for some libertarians? Is this something that you find frequently when you try to?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
That's...
I'm everyone else. It's really there is a in Michigan there is this old guard who can't stand that anarchists are finally saying something in Michigan. Because before I really got active in the party a number of years ago, people did not admit to being anarchists in the LPM.
Right.
When I first joined and first started, saying stuff, I had people come up to me and whisper, "Oh, I'm an anarchist too. Don't tell anybody," But now people are loud and, proud about saying I'm an anarchist. There's more anarchists joining than, were before. Right. It wasn't just a handful of people. And, but you have this old guard that really doesn't like that. And they have a pretty good stranglehold. When it comes to convention, they're able to pack the seats with, because these are the ones with the money.
Right.
So they're able to pack the seats with, their entire family, people who, don't do anything for the Libertarian Party, but show up to convention to vote for, the old guard.
Right.
So that's the issue that we run in here is, of the people who are actually active and, are round the year coming to, the county affiliate meetings and stuff. Those people are my friends. It's these old guard that bring in their family to make sure that they win every year. Those are the problem.
What are some of the issues that you face with the Michigan Libertarian Party? What kind of stuff, such as like ballot access and stuff like that, have you been working on locally?
Well, in Michigan, thanks to Gary Johnson doing so decently, now Michigan Party has fallen under a new status, and they like to try and say it. The old guard of the Michigan Party like to go. It's we're a major party now. We're a major party now. We finally did it. But it's not major party status. Major party status is defined as the top 2 vote getters, in the state. So it's only possible to have 2 major parties in Michigan. But we do fall under a strange category where now we're not a major party, but we're subjected to do primary elections instead of being able to select our candidates at the convention. Now we have to go out and gather signatures to get them on the ballot, and then we have to campaign for the primary election. And so now all of a sudden, it's a lot more work for the Michigan Party, and it's not really a good thing, really. It doesn't help us spread the message of libertarianism any more effectively, because now, for me to run the Senate campaign I'm planning on launching, I'm going to have to go out and gather 15,000 signatures just to get on the ballot for the primary.
Right.
When before, all I had to do was fill out a piece of paper.
Right. Big difference.
Fill out a piece of paper on the general election ballot right away. Do not pass. All you had to do was get the the nomination at convention.
Right.
But this does have something where someone like me can be the Senate candidate, and there's nothing the old guard can do about it. So
as long as you get your signature. Yeah.
I just gotta get the signatures.
Right. So let's talk about your 15 minutes that live on in infamy throughout the movement.
All right.
When you decided to strip at the Libertarian National Convention, what was going through your head, and what did you hope to accomplish with this?
Well, I had hoped that the conservatives that have came into the party, that these conservative ideas would be chased out. I wanted to make the Libertarian Party demonstrate that it's libertarian. A big thing is I wanted to debunk the 40 years of propaganda that libertarians are just Republicans. Right. Since then, have you heard that yet? Since then, you heard that for 40 years up until then. Have you heard it since?
The opposite. I hear the exact opposite now. Everyone says that we're communists.
Well, for the past 40 years, we were Republicans, so now we're commies, apparently. But
Strange.
It got rid of the 40 years of we're just Republican propaganda. So that is something that was a success that I believe was worth it. And I don't know. I mean, people probably disagree with me. People are probably, oh man, I like that we were looking like Republicans because I'm actually secretly a Republican. So those people are definitely upset.
Right.
And
I think there's quite a few people out there, such as Arvin Vora and yourself, that are kind of weeding those people out left and right at this point.
Yeah.
How do you see us actually uniting as one cohesive unit when we're so many different individualists per se?
Well, that's the thing is we are all individualists, but as individualists and as individuals, we will naturally come to work together to unite and do common goals. The thing is, we got to figure out what our common goal is. Is our common goal a world set free in our lifetime? If so, we have no problem, and we can all work together to set the world free. Now, if the goal that we have people coming in and their goal is to, run around in the little swim, the little fishbowl before they jump in with the GOP or Democrat Party or whatever, those people can fuck off.
Right.
I'd like to see the revolving door between the major parties nailed shut, and then have the entire wall just, build a trench, put sharks in it with laser beams, and
so you're actually for building a wall then.
Yeah, I want to build a wall between the Democrat and Republican and Libertarian Party.
Right.
We should not have that revolving door. It's the worst thing that we've had, is to have all these, constantly back and forth through the circle of, Republicans using us as just, their practice tank for a little while to get a little bit of something before they go back to the Republican Party. And, I'm going to say it. Ron Paul stole the election from Russell Means. Russell Means should have won in '88.
I love Ron Paul. My Ron Paul, man. I have to.
Yeah, Russell Means, man. It was Russell Means should have took that. So Ron Paul stole it.
So over the next 3 years coming up on the 2020 presidential elections, where would you like to see the LP headed? And do you have anybody in mind who you'd like to see on the Libertarian debate stage in the primaries?
Oh, Vermin Supreme.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that, if we really want to have a huge showing, he's the guy that can do it. He's the guy that can rally. We could probably get 10 or 15% if we threw Vermin Supreme up there. But realistically, I'd like to see McAfee make another go at it. I thought he was really good. One thing I really liked about him when he was running, he started off not so libertarian, and I was kind of like raising an eye, he doesn't sound very libertarian. But as he kept going with his campaign, he kept getting more and more and more libertarian. The guy, is like years ahead of a lot of people that are in the LP now, as far as, how libertarian this guy is. And he did it in such a short period of time. And I'd like to see, in another few years where he's at, and I'd like to, I bet he would be really just audacious as fuck, he'll be, he'll be I think he'll be amazingly libertarian then. But, there's tons of people that are great in the party too. I really like Larry Sharpe. Larry Sharpe says a lot of really good stuff. I think Larry Sharpe has a good way of,
uniting.
Well, not necessarily uniting. He does say some divisive stuff. As far as anti-radical kind of stuff.
I actually recently just had Larry on the show and brought up that same question, and he alluded to the fact that the anarchists are the party's North Star and what they should be aiming at. I was really surprised. I thought it was a great sentiment.
Yeah, then he says some stuff like kick Arvin out.
Right. And obviously that was when he was all pissed off because he's a vet, and that's I can understand.
He needs to get rid of that vet brainwashing a little bit.
Right.
But I'd like to see him in a few years where he comes, because he's another one that has grown a lot since he joined the party. Right. He was a big Gary Johnson guy, and now he's pretty damn near an anarchist. He's not quite there yet. He still does hold on to some of that statism. But what I really like about him, though, is his ability to talk to people and really relate the libertarian message, relate things to them. He just is great at that. He's great at bringing a story and really getting the emotional appeal there, which is something a lot of libertarians lack. They're very logical.
That's because of his pragmatic messaging, or
No. I think it's a skill he has where he's, a lot of libertarians are more logical in their way of thinking. It's, 1 + 1 = 2. Boom. There we go. We're done. Very mathematic. Where Larry Sharpe is able to, look at the emotional appeal of it, not necessarily the logical appeal of it.
Right.
And, that's a big thing that we lack a lot. We lack that a lot.
True.
You know, people are like, "What do you mean? You just hate the homeless?" You know, because there's, you know, you say stuff like abolish welfare, blah blah. You know, oh, you just hate the homeless. Oh, you hate roads. Well, I do hate roads. I will say that I do hate roads. Full on, I hate them. I wish they were all ripped up. You know,
private industry would probably make them a lot better, though.
No, I just hate them. I hate roads. Abolish roads.
Hate all the roads.
Just hate roads. Get rid of the roads. If it weren't for all these damn roads everywhere, we'd have flying cars by now. Just get rid of them. Plant, you know, nice pedestrian walkways, so you got nice grass. You know, I can go walk on the grass. I think that's much better.
I think that's a good James Weeks campaign slogan. I'm not going to lie. Abolish roads. I support it.
Maybe when I'm running for Senate, abolish roads.
There you go. Abolish roads and arm the homeless. They can Well, sir, that's actually that's all I have for you today. Would you like to let people know about any events you'll be attending or hosting, or websites and Facebook pages to check out?
Well, I'd like to have everyone coming out to Audacious Caucus Facebook page. Give us a like. And you've heard a lot of things from me that you may not agree with over the course of, a lot of people, you probably don't agree with my philosophy on property, or my, whatever, my interpretation of Antifa have no bearing on your, Audacious Caucus. That does not represent the Audacious Caucus. That is my opinion. That's the beauty of the Audacious Caucus, is we're not going to tell you how to libertarian. If you want a libertarian, how you're going to libertarian, as long as you're not, one of them pragmatic jackasses, we'll take you. Telling us to, as long as you're not telling us to tone it down, you're welcome. And we'd like to see you step it up.
Right. You'd like to see everyone go full radical, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see everyone go full audacious. Radicals are a bunch of statists.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, James. Also, thank you for dropping that you'll be running for U.S. Senate on our show. That's great. We look forward to seeing that campaign. And thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the Think Liberty TV channel. Follow us on Facebook at Think Liberty and the website at think-liberty.com. And stop by our sponsor's website at anarchothreads.com, because if you love liberty so much, you should probably wear it. Hey, thanks again, James.
Have a good one.